I'm Rob Vischer. Welcome to my new storytelling podcast, God Out Loud. With every new episode, you'll hear thought-provoking stories of people who claimed they heard God. Today, you'll hear from Larry. He claims God told him to switch careers from something he had always done to something he had never done. Want to hear more God Out Loud stories? Follow God Out Loud now on your favorite podcast app.
The reason I got my apartment in New York was because I was working for a client, L'Oreal at the time. They asked me to come at the last minute. I found a room at the Doubletree Hotel for $700 a night. It was $2,400 for 3 nights in the hotel. I said, well, listen, I know I can find an apartment for $2,400 a month.
You know those people you meet and you're like, man, he's on top of it. That's Larry Robertson. Except Larry's not just on top of it. He's way ahead of it, whatever it is. He's a Hollywood good-looking middle-aged dude who kind of looks like Morpheus from The Matrix. He also has a quick wit, a warm personality, and an irresistible knack for storytelling. So it's not surprising that he was working with L'Oreal, or that L'Oreal's team demanded his frequent presence in New York.
I was in New York, I was in Hong Kong, I was all over the world, all over the country. I mean, we had just gotten back from Hong Kong. I'm doing all this great stuff.
In other words, Larry was at the top of his career. He was so in demand that he had 2 homes, one in Memphis and an apartment in New York.
So I'm in my apartment in New York and I'm walking through and I'm feeling real empty. We had just gotten back from Hong Kong and everything, but my kid was sick. And I'm like, God, something ain't right. Something just is not gelling. And, the thing that kept coming back to my mind was what good does it do for you to gain the whole world and lose your family?
Not to split hairs, but the actual biblical reference is Mark 8:36. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? Larry felt empty, like he was losing his soul and his family in exchange for a job. But 2 things happened that made him start rethinking everything. Number 1.
God spoke to me very clearly. It said, this is a hotel room. This is your hotel room, not your home.
Number 2.
I had a friend who said, man, you got small kids at home. Why aren't you in Memphis more? Why are you in New York all the time? May 3rd, 2013, I'm driving to Louisville, Kentucky for Derby. So I'm having a challenge and I'm praying and I'm saying, God, man, I am really unhappy. And I'm already really feeling terrible about the fact that I'm running back and forth to New York and I'm just not enjoying it as much because I think it's because of my family. So I'm praying and I'm saying, God, man, I am really unhappy. I need something I can do the day before they put me in the box. I don't even want to think about retirement. I don't want an alarm clock to wake up. I don't want any of that stuff. I want to be totally content with what I'm doing.
You know what I hear Larry saying? Mid-life crisis. A crisis of family, a crisis of career, and ultimately a crisis of purpose. It would have been easy to distract himself, to find a new hobby, work more, or pick up a bad habit. But instead, Larry asked God to help him find a meaningful career. And Larry claims God answered.
God spoke to me clearly. Sports radio. I said, man, you're tripping. You are so tripping. I put people in front of mics. I'm not in front of a mic. I'm never in front of a mic. I don't even like mics. So listen, what is it that I can do that louder? Boom, sports radio. I'm like, man, you are tripping. You are out of your mind. I cannot do radio, man. I won't do it. I can't do it.
Since I grew up in church, I can't help but be reminded of the biblical story where God calls a shepherd named Moses to free the people of Israel from their Egyptian oppressors. Much like Larry, Moses starts making excuses. For example, Moses said, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" Larry said,
"Man, you're tripping."
Moses said, "They will not believe me or listen to my voice." Larry said,
"Man, you are tripping. You are out of your mind. I cannot do radio."
Moses said, "Oh my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoke to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue." Larry said,
"You are so tripping. I put people in front of mics. I'm not in front of a mic. I'm never in front of a mic. I don't even like mics."
And finally, Moses demanded, "Oh my Lord, please send someone else." And Larry said,
"I cannot do radio, man. I won't do it. I can't do it."
Freeing an oppressed people group and going into sports broadcasting are wildly different. I know that. But as a guy who grew up consuming Bible stories as a main form of entertainment, the similarities to me are striking. After Moses said, "Oh my Lord, please send someone else," God got angry. Something similar happened to Larry.
Well, sports radio, and it was so loud inside the car. I know it sounds crazy, but it really was. And it was painful to my ears. And I said, all right. I said, okay, I give. I said, okay, I don't know anything about radio, about being on the mic. So who's going to be on the show with me? And he said, my guy, Howard Robertson. And I said, really?
So based on this strange and very loud interaction with God, like a true God out loud moment, Larry decides to take action.
I called Howard. I felt like an imbecile because, Howard is a very well-respected member of the business community in Memphis, Tennessee, to the point where his wife is the president of the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. They've got the oldest African-American owned PR firm in the city. They're just an iconic couple. And so for me to call this guy out of the blue and tell him, God told me to call you, that was a stretch within itself. I was like, hey, man, what you doing? He's like, oh, man, I'm sitting here and I'm telling him about, hey, this is what God told me. Howard was like, man, you sure God called my name? He said, are you really sure God called my name? I said, Howard, I'm 100% sure. And all he could say was, are you sure God said my name? Are you really sure? Are you perfectly sure that God mentioned my name? And I said, I'm telling you, brother, I wouldn't have been calling you. He said, listen, man, I'll talk to you later. He said, let me think about this and I'll talk to you later.
Larry called Howard on Friday. The rest of Friday passed, Saturday passed, and Sunday passed. Maybe it's not a long time in reality, but since the dawn of smartphones, 48 hours of someone ghosting me can feel like forever, especially if I had just given them a message from God.
I felt stupid. I did. I felt like, all right, God, this is supposed to be your deal. Why is he responding this way? And then there was no answer, no response, no conversation. God didn't say another thing. I was just stuck. I was like, okay, I did what I'm supposed to do. You said call it, I called it. It's on you now. Early Monday morning, Howard calls me back. I didn't know if he thought he was going to call me to tell me I'm an imbecile and to never call me again. I didn't know what to expect. I just sit there and I looked at his number. I looked at his name, Howard Robertson, right across the phone. And I picked up the phone. And he was like, hey, man. I said, what's up? He said, man, I've been thinking all weekend about it. And he said, I don't know how you knew. I don't know how you knew this. All my life, I've wanted to be a sports commentator. All my life. As a kid, I used to practice it. I used to sit in front of black and white TV and call out plays as if I was Howard Cosell and everybody else. He said, so I don't know how you knew, but if God called my name, then that means we need to do it.
This is Howard Robertson.
I found out I was referred by God. Of course it was disbelief. I'm going, come on, man. Come on, Larry. Don't blaspheme, man. I'm going to do it. You don't have to make up stuff. He said, no, dude, no, man. Specifically, he said your name. I said, okay.
Howard was skeptical, but when he called back on Monday, he hadn't just thought of sitting in front of the TV as a kid. He also thought, what would my mother say?
You've seen these mothers, perhaps your mom was like this, that are in it from the beginning, Oh, yeah, baby, that's a wonderful idea. And we'll praise you just because it was your idea, just because you came up with it. They are all in and are supporting you. Oh, and it's the best thing they ever heard in life. My mama wasn't like that. My mama is going to tell you all the reasons it can't work. I don't know if that was by design, just so I would think about and have an answer for what she felt was issues with it. But I got really, really good doing that. I called him back after having done that. So I knew the benefits. I knew the assets that could be used to sell the show.
Howard's analytical mind and his experience in copywriting, advertising, and PR made him a perfect teammate for Larry. By the time the show launched, they were both more than on top of it.
We did our pilot episode January 2014. We moved into our own studio in November of 2014. So here we are today. We have a show that's aired on SiriusXM every Saturday morning. We're in over 100 markets. We're on every podcast platform. We're on every streaming platform. We got a whole lot of other shows, and we're employing about 20 people.
Translation, their show succeeded. And in the spirit of sports broadcasting, let me show you a highlight.
Hello, and welcome to a little R&R on sports. I'm Uncle Howard.
And I'm the fantastic Larry Robinson. What's up, America? How you doing this weekend?
And we could sing.
We can
just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Me and you, bruh.
It's you and I.
You and I. Obviously, it was your mom that was the English teacher.
This has mushroomed into something that there's no way I would have seen. There's no way in the world, and it has to be a GOD thing.
Larry is convinced this was God. That's obvious. But I'm curious, what does Howard think?
So, obviously, that was a shock. I've never been referred by God before, and it is indeed an honor. But you know what? On the back end and being at the age and stage of life that I am, I realize full well that what's supposed to happen happens when it's supposed to. And it does not happen by accident or happenstance. So it is indeed absolutely plausible that that's what he received. That's what was communicated. And given the success of everything and where he is now and all of the great things that have happened, that was something that was supposed to happen when it happened.
It was supposed to happen when it happened. When Howard told me that, I had to dig deeper and ask what the show has meant to him personally.
I got into business as a writer, as a copywriter and script writer and all of that stuff. It's given me a tremendous opportunity to do that. We've done a lot of fun things with characters, and this character called Uncle Rageous that I do that's named after a man that was like my grandfather growing up. I'll tell you something else that it has given me. It gave me a tremendously needed and necessary diversion during the years I was a caregiver for my mother. That was sometimes very, very stressful and hard. Anybody that's ever been a caregiver knows what I'm talking about. It's hard to see somebody that you love and somebody that was just brilliant and proud and effective have to battle sickness and becoming incapacitated due to illness. So during that time, going to record R&R was a wonderful diversion for me and helped me get through it.
Larry and Howard's show is called R&R on Sports. That's R&R on Sports. And it's done well for them. That successful show has turned into a successful podcast network. And that successful podcast network is turned into a successful media production company in Memphis, Tennessee called Kudzukian. Again, that's Kudzukian. I'll spell it later. But while the success is nice, that's not what really drives Larry.
Whenever the school calls for either one of my sons, whether it's they're sick or they're not doing exactly what they're supposed to do, I literally can leave and go see what's going on with my kids. So as a father, specifically a black father, the teachers, the principals, all those school administrators, Larry Robinson is about his children. Whereas when I was in New York, I was missing everything. I prayed for something that I could do the day before they put me in a box. I honestly feel like that's what I had. If I was to die today, you could say, I know for a fact that Larry was happy because he was doing exactly what he loved to do. And I believe it's my purpose. In addition to that, I don't need an alarm clock to get up in the morning. I am so content and happy.
I could end the story there, but Larry said something as we were wrapping up that completely took me off guard.
If you get anything from this conversation, if you praying, you get an answer, be obedient. Because I'm not the greatest at sports radio. I'm not even extremely happy when I'm doing the show, but it's everything else that has come off of that.
Larry says God called him to be a sports broadcaster, but his sports show isn't even his favorite thing. Listen to him.
I'm not even extremely happy when I'm doing the show.
As I talked with Larry and Howard, I kept wondering, why did God call Larry to sports broadcasting? I mean, he's God. He could have found another way to help Larry own the same media production company that he owns now. So if Larry's a guy who still likes to put other people in front of mics more than being in front of a mic himself, why sports broadcasting? Every time I try to answer that question, all that comes to mind is an image of a little boy intently watching sports on a silent black and white TV. All that comes to mind is Howard. Thanks for listening. If you like this story, hit follow or subscribe now. Also, you can help me tell more stories by going to GodOutLoud.com and funding more stories like this one. And if you have a true story you want to share with me, go to GodOutLoud.com and say, "What up, Rob? I have a story." The theme song is written by me and produced by the strongest human I know, Joe Fry. Thanks to Larry Robinson, Howard Robertson, and the rest of the team at Kudzukian. Find them by searching Kudzukian on your favorite podcast app. Help me tell more stories of people who claim they heard God by going to GodOutLoud.com now and funding more God Out Loud stories. Because I'm not a cryptocurrency, I can't promise your money will double in 3 days or that I'll lose half of it by tomorrow. But I can promise that you'll get some cool gear, and anything you send my way will go toward the Create More Stories Fund and the Feed My Family Fund. Thank you for your generosity. And by the way, I floated the idea for the conclusion of this podcast by Howard to see if it rang true. This was his response.
That is a beautiful thing, and I think it is absolutely reality. I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I was having a conversation just a couple of days ago with a young lady who has done very, very well in the corporate space. And now she finds herself senior VP, head of a department, and 15, 20 people reporting to her. And I said to her, look, make sure you understand that God did not put you where you are, in the place that you are, and doing what you are doing because you are so deserving or so good. None of us are. You are there to be a bridge for somebody. Most bridges are elevated. They have to be. They got to be elevated over the topography so that somebody can cross. She said, I am so glad you said that, because I was thinking, like, why me and all of that? Why you is that you're blessed enough to have been selected. But it's not because of you. It's because of what you can be and do on behalf of somebody else. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I'd never thought about it within the context of Larry and R&R. I really had not. But yeah, it's been a bridge. It's been a bridge for me.